All right, guys, welcome to section 3. And in this section, we're going to talk a lot about camera movement. Now, we're not going to go over all the elements and the different kinds of movements. We're going to do that when we do our director of photography course. That will all come into play for that kind of thing. But for this workshop, we do want to talk about some basic concepts involving moving the camera. Now, there's a bunch of things that you can do when you move a camera. You can grab a camera, you can do it handheld, move it around like this. You can put it on dollies, you can put it on jibs, you can put it on sliders and slide the camera. I mean, especially these days with GoPros, you can pretty much put a camera anywhere you want. And while that can be awesome and look really, really cool, it doesn't always help with story. And that includes whether it's a narrative story or a documentary story. So what we're going to encourage you to do is focus on what we call motivated movement. If you can master motivated movement, it really sets you up to make great films because great filmmakers understand the concept of motivated movement. So let's just talk a little bit about it. When you have a film, the idea and concept behind the film is the story that the film is about. And so the director comes at it saying, I want to communicate this story in the most effective way. So when he looks at the story, he thinks, what is the most effective way to tell the story with the camera? So the idea is if you have a camera, the camera can be just as much a part at telling the story as the actors or anything else in the film. And so the director has to decide how is the best way to tell the story using the camera. So for an example, if you wanted to focus on a dialogue in a scene, but only the dialogue in the scene is important, now you really want the audience to hear the dialogue and hear the gravity of what's being said. One of the simplest ways to do that is to put the camera on sticks, which just means a tripod, and you film the scene, and that way the audience never sees the camera move. It's just still, and their eyes are forced to focus on your actors and the dialogue that's being said. Or if you're doing a documentary, their eyes are focused on the person that you're interviewing and they're listening to what they say, but there is no camera movement. And that's great because if the camera starts going like this, the audience is going to know, wait a minute, the camera's moving. Why is the camera moving? Why is it free floating like that, right? Or if the camera just suddenly turns this way, or if the camera starts here and halfway through the interview, it just starts sliding over, they're going to notice the movement. And so you really got to watch that and say, is the moving of the camera noticeable and does it take away from the story? Now, it can actually add to the story. So for example, if you need to create a lot of energy in a shot, you might want to put the camera on a handheld kind of mount idea, or run it around or follow the actors, because the camera bouncing around and all that kind of stuff can provide a lot of energy in a scene. Of course, it can also make you seasick. So the big concept we want you to understand anytime you're doing any kind of filming is to ask yourself, what's the best way to communicate the story as far as the camera goes? If you can communicate the next part without moving the camera, you probably should. If you need to follow an actor and the camera's here, but they're going to end up way over here, then you're going to need to figure out, is it better to put the camera still here and then cut and go there? Or is it better to follow the actor over? Whatever you decide, your big goal is to say, what is the best way to communicate the story? That is your goal. Communicate the story using the camera. So when we talk about motivated camera movement, that is what we mean. It means the movement of the camera should be motivated to tell the story. And if the camera doesn't need to move to tell the story, then it probably shouldn't. So to look at examples of this, we're going to go out to a DEO set that we're working on right now, and we're going to shoot a simple scene. And we're going to show you different ways to shoot the scene with different camera motivations, and you can decide which one you think looks the best.